answers that part. She's like, obviously we know how she feels about that. Jane lives in Belfast, and I asked this question to all of them, and I was really delighted with all the different responses. So what is the body part that surprises you the most? And her answer was upturned toes. And I asked why, and the answer was because they're not pretty. Ladies and gentlemen, Jane.
Hi. My grandmother had second sight. That means that she sometimes could see into the future. And my mother always felt cheated because she was never born. She wasn't born with second sight. When my parents were in their early 80s, my mother died very suddenly at home. And by the time I got from upstate New York to Antrim, New Hampshire, the next morning, she'd already been cremated. So I never had a chance to say goodbye or have final words with my mother. And even though I gave a eulogy at her funeral, there was always something missing, that piece was missing of that final conversation. Well, my dad continued to live at home for several years, but then it was time for him to move into a little apartment. Now my dad, Martin, you've heard of Martin, is a dyed-in-the-wool Yankee saver of everything that might possibly be useful someday. And his house, and his shed, and his barn, and his attic, and his cellar, everything was crammed full of stuff. So family members got together over several weekends. I would drive out from upstate New York, and we just cleaned out his stuff. And it was stuff. But I, being the dutiful daughter, promised that nothing would go into the dumpster without my checking it to make sure it wasn't anything valuable or whatever. But I promised, I made that promise. No, Dad, we wouldn't think of throwing anything away. So we did. We cleaned, and it was a major project. Major project. But we were near the end, and my sister-in-law, Sheila, and I were going to clean out the under the eaves. That's what it's called in New Hampshire. It's an upstairs crawl space that is under the eaves, but it is a crawl space. It's dark, and it's low, and it's long, an unventilated, nasty place. So Sheila went in and heaved stuff out to me. Now this thing had been jammed for 50 years with stuff. People just put stuff in, shoved it back. There was so much stuff. So she'd heave it out, and I was in this bedroom, and there were just these teetering piles of stuff that kept coming, heaving out, and I would just pile it up and move it back. Stuff. So out comes this little suitcase, comes heaving out to me, and it's just a little suitcase. But it's locked. And I said, oh, please, there's no key. Let me just throw it in the dumpster. But what had I promised Martin? That I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't throw anything, just throw it away. So I had to get a screwdriver, chisel it open it up. What's in this little suitcase? And stuff I'd never seen before. Neatly packed little items, matchbook from San Diego, and a Japanese calligraphy set, and all these things. And I said, oh, these have got to be Martin's souvenirs from World War II when he was in the Pacific in the Navy. So these are his souvenirs. So I guess I'm going to have to save the little suitcase and give it to him and let him paw through it himself. So I'm fishing around, and pull out this item. And it looks like a little 5-hour energy bottle. And I said, well, what the heck is this? Maybe it's, I'm shaking it, maybe it's dried up ink for that calligraphy set, or maybe it's a little bottle of rice wine that's all dried up. What the heck is this thing? And I feel this hand on my arm, and I hear this voice that says, it's a grenade. No, put it down. So I put it down. Sheila! Tell them we found a grenade in Martin's World War II stuff, and I think it's live. So Sheila gets the dispatcher's command, put the ordnance down, step away. So we put the ordnance down, but first, we take a funny picture of me holding it. Then we put it down, the town cops come, they have no idea what to do with a World War II live grenade, so we take a picture of it, send it to the state explosives expert, who is so excited to see this. He comes screeching in from Concord, New Hampshire. In 23 years, he has never seen this kind of grenade. He's so excited. So I'm talking to him and I say, he says, so your dad picked this up in Okinawa? Yep. What is it? Oh, it's definitely a Japanese grenade. I've never seen one before. This is great. I asked the obvious question, is it live? Oh yeah, of course it is. In fact, these old things like this, they get so unstable, it could have gone off at any second if you just jiggled it a little. You sure were lucky. I said, well, yeah, let's not press our luck. Would you please take it away right now? So he puts it in his Kevlar frag bag, zips it up, takes it away to the state explosive things, and that's the end of the grenade. But I have a moment of notoriety because the picture of the grenade gets in the local newspaper, the story, and the foolish picture of me holding it goes viral, so everyone on earth gets to see me being a fool. And they see the picture and they hear the story and they ask, how did you know it was a grenade? So I tell them about the arm, and the hand in my arm, and I tell them about the voice. And I said, that's how I know it was a grenade. But this is what I really know. My mother's spirit had stayed in the house all those years, and she was waiting to have that final conversation with me. And she received the gift of second sight, and she could see what would happen, and she saved my life. End.